Admiral Chen stared at the holographic message repeating in the center of Earth's unified Defense Council chamber. The translucent figure of Emperor Zolvex, with his characteristic six-armed gestures and iridescent ceremonial armor, had been delivering the same war declaration for the past 20 minutes. And so, by the ancient authority vested in the galactic hegemony, we find a species designated human to be in violation of Interstellar Protocol 5291C regarding unauthorized expansion into protected resource zones. The penalty for this transgression is clear. Let it be known across all civilized stars that a state of war now exists between the 18 sovereign species of the hegemony and the upstart humans of Sol. Chen glanced at Ambassador Rodriguez, who appeared to be struggling to maintain her composure. "Madam Ambassador, are you quite all right?" General Okonkwo whispered. Rodriguez covered her mouth, but it didn't help. A snort escaped, followed by unmistakable laughter that echoed through the chamber. The Emperor's hologram paused mid-sentence, all four of his eyes blinking in confusion. "I apologize," Rodriguez managed between suppressed giggles. "But do you realize you scheduled this war declaration during Earth's largest comedy festival? The timing is just," she gestured vaguely, "perfect." The Emperor's upper arms crossed in what the humans recognized as an expression of supreme indignation. "You find the prospect of annihilation amusing, Ambassador?" "Not at all," Rodriguez replied, composing herself. "I find your assumption that we would tremble before this performance amusing. The hegemony has been monitoring our development for decades. Surely you've noticed that humans respond to threats in unexpected ways." The Emperor's lower set of hands twitched in the hegemony gesture, signifying dangerous irritation. "Your colony in the Vega system violates boundaries established 10,000 years before your species discovered fire. The hegemony's judgment is final." Admiral Chen stepped forward. "And we acknowledge receipt of your declaration, Emperor Zolvex. Earth will respond according to established protocols." After the transmission ended, the chamber erupted in controlled chaos. Military officers consulted tablets, diplomats huddled in corners, and planetary governors demanded immediate evacuation plans. Through it all, Chen noticed Rodriguez still wearing a slight smile. "You're not concerned?" Chen asked her privately. "Oh, I'm concerned," Rodriguez replied, "but not terrified. There's a difference. The hegemony expects us to react like every other species they've confronted, with conventional military preparation, desperate diplomacy, or surrender. They've never encountered humans before." Chen nodded thoughtfully. "So we activate Protocol 47B. Immediately, Rodriguez confirmed. "And someone get me the network executives from Global Entertainment. Also, I need whoever runs that cooking competition, the one with the dramatic music and impossible time constraints." Across the chamber, General Okonkwo was already coordinating with Earth's Unconventional Warfare Division. "I want the construction of the orbital welcome platforms accelerated, and contact the tourism board. Those Visit Earth promotional materials need to be translated into all 18 hegemony languages by tomorrow." A junior officer approached hesitantly. "Sir, shouldn't we be mobilizing the fleet?" "Oh, we're mobilizing something much more effective," Okonkwo replied with unexpected cheerfulness. "Have you seen what happens when non-humans try ice cream for the first time? The biochemical reaction is fascinating." Meanwhile, 16 light-years away in the Vega system, the human colonists received news of the declaration with remarkable calm. Colony Director Sharma assembled her staff in the central dome of New Bombay settlement. "The hegemony has finally made their move," she announced to the gathered crowd. "Fortunately, we've been preparing for this possibility since we arrived." "Operation Tourist Trap is ready, Director," her assistant confirmed. "The resort facilities are at 90% completion, and the entertainment complex can accommodate up to 15,000 hegemony visitors." "Perfect," Sharma nodded. "And the gift shops?" "Fully stocked with Earth memorabilia, customized for each hegemony species' physical requirements and cultural sensibilities." Outside the dome, what appeared to be defensive installations from orbit were, upon closer inspection, massive amusement park rides, outdoor concert venues, and the framework for what would become the largest shopping center outside of Earth. Construction crews worked around the clock, guided by marketing specialists rather than military engineers. Back on Earth, Admiral Chen authorized the release of humanity's first response to the declaration of war, a specially produced reality show featuring attractive human hosts providing guided tours of Earth's most spectacular locations, each episode ending with an open invitation to the citizens of the hegemony. Its title appeared in glowing letters across billions of screens throughout hegemony space. Earth, come see what you've been missing. The war had begun, just not in any way the hegemony could possibly have anticipated. Supreme Commander Cloverex of the Hegemony First Invasion Fleet paced the command deck of the dreadnought Inevitable Conquest. His chitinous exoskeleton clicked against the polished floor as tactical displays showed his armada, 15,000 warships strong, moving steadily toward the Sol system. Status report on human defensive preparations, he demanded. His intelligence officer, Subcommander Traz, looked uncharacteristically confused. Sir, our long-range scans show minimal military mobilization. Instead, they appear to be broadcasting. Broadcasting what exactly? Cloverex asked. Entertainment content, sir. Thousands of channels of it, all carefully calibrated for hegemony neural patterns and translated into our 18 languages. The humans call this deployment Operation Couch Potato. Cloverex's mandibles clicked in irritation. Show me. The main view screen shifted to display a sampling of human broadcasts now flooding hegemony communication channels. A cooking competition showed chefs frantically preparing foods while dramatic music played. A reality show featured humans living together in confined spaces, forming alliances and feuding dramatically. A series about human medical facilities portrayed complicated emotional relationships alongside graphic surgical procedures. This is their defense strategy. Cloverex scoffed. Primitive diversionary tactics. Perhaps, sir, Traz replied hesitantly, but crew efficiency has dropped 12% in the last 6 hours. The entertainment broadcasts are unusually compelling. Compelling how? Our xenopsychologists report that human narratives trigger dopamine responses across all hegemony species. They structure stories with unpredictable outcomes that stimulate our reward centers. It's particularly potent for the Vexkar and Zolnath species. As if on cue, Emperor Zolvex's son, Prince Zorvex, appeared on the command deck, looking distinctly disheveled. You've missed 2 war councils, Your Highness, Cloverex noted disapprovingly. My apologies, Commander, the young prince said. I was conducting research on human psychological warfare. There's this series called Ultimate Survivor, Everest Edition, where humans voluntarily climb a frozen mountain without technological assistance. I needed to know if they survived. Cloverex's compound eyes narrowed, and this required 17 consecutive hours of viewing. They release information gradually to build suspense, the prince explained earnestly. It's actually brilliant psychological manipulation. I've ordered comprehensive analysis. Meanwhile, on Earth, the headquarters of Global Entertainment Network had transformed into a secondary command center. Television executives worked alongside military strategists, monitoring engagement metrics across hegemony space. Network CEO Martina Desai reviewed the latest data with satisfaction. Engagement metrics are exceeding projections. The Zolnath species has particular affinity for our cooking competitions. Viewing rates are nearly 80% among their civilian population. Admiral Chen nodded thoughtfully. And the targeted content for hegemony military personnel. Even better, Desai grinned. Our specially produced Battleship Renovation series is a huge hit. Apparently, hegemony warships are aesthetically utilitarian, and the concept of redecorating military vessels for comfort is revolutionary to them. Across the room, Dr. Lakshmi Patel, Earth's leading xenoneurologist monitored brain scans of volunteer hegemony citizens who had been on Earth when war was declared. Fascinating, she murmured. Their neural pathways respond to cliffhangers and plot twists even more intensely than human brains. Particularly this format humans call binge-worthy. Their executive function shows significant disruption when viewing episodes consecutively. General Okonkwo reviewed her findings with interest. So you're saying we've essentially developed the interstellar equivalent of catnip. More potent, Patel confirmed. Their biochemistry lacks the evolutionary defenses humans have developed against entertainment addiction. We've had centuries to build resistance to compelling narratives. They've had days. In orbit, construction teams completed the enormous golden arches visible from deep space. The controversial project, officially designated Cultural Gateway Alpha, had initially been criticized as frivolous until xenomathematicians confirmed its proportions triggered aesthetically pleasing responses in 17 of 18 hegemony species. On the frontier edge of hegemony space, Admiral Zexlor of the Preliminary Strike Force found himself facing unexpected disciplinary issues. Crew members were fashioning unauthorized viewing areas in maintenance bays. Off-duty conversations revolved exclusively around human celebrities. Worst of all, his own executive officer requested leave time to participate in something called a fantasy league, based on a human competitive cooking program. This is psychological warfare, Zexlor insisted during an emergency command briefing. We must restrict access to human broadcasts immediately. But Emperor Zalvex himself looked distracted, his upper eyes occasionally darting to a secondary screen where humans in formal attire exchanged elaborate statues during something called an awards ceremony. Perhaps, the Emperor said slowly, we should study this phenomenon more thoroughly before proceeding. These humans demonstrate unexpected sophistication in their cultural outputs. As the briefing concluded, the Emperor found himself wondering who would receive the Best Performance Award and whether the controversial musical production about human historical figures would sweep the technical categories as predicted. Operation Couch Potato was working better than anyone on Earth had dared to hope. Admiral Jix Varna of the Hegemony's 7th Battle Group hadn't slept in 36 hours. Not because of the impending conflict with humanity, but because she couldn't stop watching Oceanfront Mansion, a reality program featuring wealthy humans arguing in luxurious dwellings. She had just discovered episode 23 when her command console chimed. Incoming transmission, Admiral, her communications officer announced. Isolated channel, biometrically coded to your neural signature. Source, she asked, quickly closing the entertainment feed. Earth. The officer sounded puzzled. It appears to be from Stella Chen. Jix Varna nearly toppled from her command chair. The Stella Chen, star of Galactic Chef and Renovation Rescue. The main view screen activated, revealing the familiar human female whose cooking competitions had become Jix Varna's secret obsession. The celebrity chef smiled warmly. Admiral Jix Varna, I've been following your career since your tactical brilliance during the Andromeda border dispute. I'd love to invite you to be a special guest judge on our upcoming Interstellar Flavor Challenge. We're featuring dishes specifically designed for Kaltorian physiology like yours. Jix Varna's tendrils quivered with excitement before military discipline reasserted itself. This is clearly psychological manipulation, she stated, though her voice lacked conviction. Perhaps, Chen replied with a disarming smile, but the invitation is genuine. We've already received interest from Grand Admiral Zexcon of your 3rd Fleet. I believe he's your rival for the Supreme Commander position. Throughout the approaching Armada, similar scenes unfolded. Renowned human actors sent personalized messages to hegemony captains. Musicians offered private concerts. Athletes challenged military leaders to exhibition matches. Each message demonstrated disturbing knowledge of the recipient's personal interests and career aspirations. On the command ship Paternal Dominion, Emperor Zalvex received reports with increasing concern. The Rix Talon battle group has changed course. his tactical officer reported. They claim to be investigating anomalous signals, but tracking shows they're heading toward coordinates matching the human entertainment center known as Las Vegas. 17 vessels from disparate commands have declared navigational emergencies requiring immediate landing at the human resort complex on their Martian colony, another officer added. The Emperor's communication officer looked up from her console. Your Excellency, we've received 15,000 individual requests from crew members for shore leave consideration should we establish control of human territories. Meanwhile, Earth's defensive perimeter had transformed into something unprecedented in military history. Enormous holographic billboards advertised tourism opportunities between planetary defense platforms. Automated satellites broadcast continuous promotional messages alongside tactical scanning. The approach to Earth now featured what military observers described as half-deadly Sirius defensive grid, half-interstellar welcome center. At Unified Defense Headquarters, General Okonkwo reviewed the celebrity deployment statistics with Cameron Young, Earth's most influential entertainment manager. Your client Morgan Rivera has successfully engaged 73 high-ranking hegemony officers, Okonkwo noted appreciatively. Most impressive. Young nodded professionally. Morgan specializes in making everyone feel special. It's what makes them Earth's highest-paid performer. They've memorized the service records of every targeted commander. And these personal invitations, they're genuinely prepared to follow through. Absolutely, Young confirmed. Every celebrity involved understands the stakes. They're treating this as both patriotic duty and the ultimate career opportunity. The first human to host a successful hegemony talk show will make entertainment history. Elsewhere in the complex, Ambassador Rodriguez briefed the planetary governors on the ongoing celebrity offensive. The strategic genius, she explained, is that it creates individual relationships that complicate group aggression. Hegemony military doctrine relies on unified purpose. When commanders have personalized invitations from humans that grown to admire, the psychological calculus of warfare changes. Governor Santiago of the Mars colony reviewed the latest intelligence. The hegemony vessels approaching Mars are broadcasting requests for restaurant reservations rather than surrender terms. Is that accurate? Completely, Rodriguez confirmed. Our celebrity chefs have been particularly effective. Apparently, hegemony nutritional options are utilitarian at best. The concept of food as pleasure is revolutionary to their military culture. In deep space, the elite Void Claw strike force found itself in unprecedented disarray. Commander Trek's Corps discovered his battalion commanders debating which human celebrities most closely matched hegemony beauty standards. Navigation officers plotted unauthorized course corrections to intercept popular human entertainment venues. Most disturbing disciplinary incidents had increased 400%, with crew members claiming they needed to verify if the conclusions of various human dramatic serials were actually justified by narrative precedent. This isn't warfare, Trek's Corps muttered to his executive officer. It's mimetic infiltration. His executive officer nodded soberly, though Trek's Corps couldn't help noticing the officer's personal communication device displaying what appeared to be human celebrities in formal attire walking on a red carpet. Aboard her flagship, Admiral Jix Varna found herself drafting acceptance parameters for the cooking show invitation. She justified it as intelligence gathering while selecting her preferred accommodations from the options thoughtfully provided by the human celebrities production team. The celebrity offensive had achieved what no military strategist would have thought possible. It had personalized an interstellar conflict, replacing the anonymous calculation of warfare with the uncomfortable prospect of attacking people whose cooking shows you enjoyed. Commander Dex Vaylor of the Void Talon Assault Force approached Neptune's orbit with appropriate military caution. His elite troops had trained for decades, perfecting the art of planetary subjugation across 17 star systems. Nothing in that extensive training had prepared him for what awaited beyond Neptune's azure curve. "Commander," his sensor officer called out, mandibles clicking in confusion. "I'm detecting structures in high orbit. They appeared to be restaurants." The view screen magnified to reveal a collection of elegant space stations designed with transparent dome ceilings, offering spectacular views of Neptune's swirling atmosphere. Each structure featured different architectural styles, some resembling grand hegemony banquet halls, others showcasing distinctive human design elements. "This must be a sensor malfunction," Dex Veller insisted. "Negative, Commander. We're receiving welcome transmissions from each facility. They're calling themselves the Taste of Earth Culinary Experience." Dex Valor's second-in-command, Sub-Commander Krell, studied the incoming data. Each restaurant appears calibrated for specific hegemony physiologies. That one, he pointed to an ornate structure with bioluminescent accents, is designed for Xantharian digestive systems. "My species." "Obvious trap," Dex Veller declared. "Send in reconnaissance drones." Hours later, Dex Veller reviewed the reconnaissance footage with increasing bewilderment. The restaurants contained no weapons, no military personnel, just human chefs in formal attire preparing elaborate meals. Most disturbing were the reactions of the reconnaissance drones' biological sensors, which reported safe, edible substances producing pleasure responses in test samples. "We should investigate personally," Krell suggested, attempting to sound professional rather than eager. "Absolutely not," Dex Veller began, before his communication officer interrupted. "Commander, we're receiving transmission from Void Talon Team 8. They've docked with one of the restaurants to conduct close reconnaissance." The screen displayed Commander Vrex of Team 8, looking uncharacteristically relaxed. Behind him, Void Talon elites, the hegemony's fiercest warriors, were seated at elegant tables while humans served colorful dishes. "Dex Veller," Vrex called cheerfully, "you must experience this ice cream substance. It contains frozen lactose from earth mammals combined with flavor compounds. The biochemical reaction with our sensory receptors is—" He paused, searching for appropriate military terminology, "tactically significant." Meanwhile, on Earth, Dr. Alina Patel briefed the Unified Defense Council on Operation Just Desserts. "We've successfully deployed culinary experiences calibrated for all 18 hegemony species," she reported. "Our xenobiologists identified specific flavor compounds that trigger pleasure responses comparable to what humans experience when consuming chocolate or umami-rich foods." Admiral Chen reviewed the latest intelligence. The Void Talon forces have essentially stopped advancing. 70% of their vessels maintain Neptune orbit, while crew rotations visit our restaurant stations. Most importantly, added Chef João Mendes, recently appointed Culinary Defense Coordinator, they're sharing their experiences on hegemony communication channels. Food imagery is spreading through their fleet faster than their command can contain it. "The psychological component is key," Dr. Patel continued. "Many hegemony species evolved as resource-competitive carnivores. Their civilizations developed around efficient nutrition rather than culinary pleasure. The concept of food as an art form rather than mere sustenance is revolutionary to their cultural framework." Back at Neptune, Commander Dex Veller found himself facing unprecedented insubordination as his troops invented increasingly creative reasons to conduct thorough reconnaissance of the human restaurants. Security teams reported necessary contamination testing of substances called tiramisu and butter chicken. Engineering specialists required extended analysis of something humans called barbecue. Most alarming was the behavior of those who returned from these reconnaissance missions. They appeared physically unchanged, but spoke with disturbing enthusiasm about flavor profiles and mouthfeel. Many brought back samples which rapidly disappeared in supposedly scientific testing chambers. Against his better judgment, Dex Veller finally authorized his own inspection visit to the largest facility, justifying it as necessary command oversight. Hours later, he found himself engaged in animated conversation with Executive Chef Maria Santos, about the fascinating intersection of Peruvian spice preferences and human Sichuan cuisine. The similarity in our chemoreceptors for capsaicin compounds is remarkable, Santos explained, serving him another sample. Your species experiences heat similarly to humans, though with greater sensitivity to sweet counterbalances. Fascinating, Dex Veller replied, completely forgetting he was supposed to be leading an invasion force. This explains why this mango lassi creates such an effective contrast to the spiced dish. Across Neptune orbit, similar scenes unfolded. Tactical planning sessions transformed into culinary discussions. Military communication channels filled with enthusiastic food reviews. Several Void talent specialists requested permission to apprentice with human pastry chefs to better understand enemy psychological operations. On Earth, humanity watched with amusement as the feared elite invasion force became increasingly preoccupied with cooking competitions. The Unified Broadcasting Network launched a new documentary series titled Meet the Humans. We're Really Not Worth Fighting, featuring everyday Earth citizens engaged in ordinary activities, carefully selected to showcase human creativity, diversity, and hospitality. The documentary's first episode ended with a simple message in all hegemony languages. Why conquer what you can experience? Earth welcomes peaceful visitors. The culinary diversion had transformed the hegemony's most fearsome warriors into enthusiastic restaurant patrons, perhaps the most absurd military development in galactic history. Grand Admiral Vexcor of the hegemony main battle fleet approached Mars with what remained of his strategic focus. Reports of the Void Talon's culinary distraction had reached him, along with disturbing footage of elite shock troops participating in something called the Great Martian Bake-Off. He had sworn not to fall victim to such obvious psychological manipulation. That determination lasted precisely 6 hours after Earth launched Galactogram. Admiral, his communications officer reported, we're detecting a new digital platform spreading through the fleet. Initial security scans showed no malicious code, but adoption rates are concerning. Explain, Vexcor demanded. It appears to be a social media platform called Galactogram, specifically designed for cross-species communication. It features neural-optimized interfaces for all 18 hegemony physiologies. Crew members are creating personal profiles at an exponential rate. Vexcor scoffed. Military personnel know better than to share operational information. They're not sharing tactical data, sir. They're sharing experiences, food reviews from Neptune, fashion observations about human attire, personal reactions to Earth entertainment. The algorithm seems calibrated to each species' social hierarchy instincts. Within days, Galactogram had infected every level of the approaching fleet. Junior officers competed for followers by posting increasingly elaborate commentary on human culture. Ship commanders delayed tactical maneuvers to capture visually striking images of Earth from specific orbital approaches. Even seasoned veterans found themselves inexplicably concerned with metrics called likes and shares. On Earth, the team behind this digital offensive worked around the clock, led by Dr. Sophia Patel and social media pioneer Marcus Chen. The engagement metrics are extraordinary. Chen reported to Admiral Chen, no relation, 93% adoption rate among hegemony military personnel within 72 hours. Their neurological responses to notifications downs mirror addiction patterns we've observed in human teenagers. Dr. Patel nodded. The species-specific algorithms are working perfectly. For hierarchical species like the Zexveri, we emphasize status indicators and exclusive content. For collective species like the Hrath, we prioritize group participation and shared experiences. Most effectively, Chen added, we've created separate trending categories for each vessel. Ship commanders are now competing for dominance on what they call the content battlefield rather than actual military engagement. General Okonkwo reviewed their report with carefully concealed amusement, and these hegemony influencers we're seeing emerge. Completely organic development, Dr. Patel confirmed. The Centaurian admiral commanding their third battle group has abandoned military broadcasts in favor of daily orbit logs featuring philosophical musings about human architecture. He's accumulated 8 million followers. Elsewhere on Earth, the projected hegemony landing zones had transformed into festival grounds. Construction crews worked alongside event planners to create what was officially designated First Contact Celebration Zone Alpha, though most humans simply called it Invasion Fest. Colony Director Sharma, recalled from Vega to oversee the project, surveyed the massive stages, vendor areas, and interactive exhibits with satisfaction. The main performance venue can accommodate 70,000 attendees with species-specific comfort adaptations, she explained to Ambassador Rodriguez. The merchandise pavilions feature appropriate souvenirs for all known hegemony physiologies. Rodriguez nodded approvingly, and they're following all this on Galactigram. Obsessively, Sharma confirmed. We've created tags like hashtag Invasion Vibes and hashtag Earthbound that are trending across all 18 species networks. The festival already has 20 million virtual attendees who've never set foot on Earth. Back in space, Grand Admiral Vexcor faced the greatest disciplinary breakdown in hegemony military history. Command meetings devolved into debates about optimal lighting for profile images. Navigation officers plotted course corrections to capture Earth's continents from photogenic angles. Most disturbing, ship captains requested permission to adjust formation based on aesthetic rather than tactical considerations. This is mimetic warfare, Vexcor insisted during an emergency briefing with Emperor Zolvex. These posts and stories are reprogramming our neural pathways. The Emperor nodded distractedly, his attention clearly divided. His personal communication device displayed what appeared to be a galactogram profile under construction. Perhaps, Zolvex said slowly, we should consider whether traditional conquest remains the optimal approach. The cultural exchange opportunities appear significant. Vexcor stared in horror as the Emperor added a profile description that read, Eternal Sovereign of 18 Species Galaxy Traveler Foodie open to collaboration opportunities. Throughout the fleet, military discipline continued its remarkable transformation. Soldiers requested transfers to vessels with better content creation opportunities. Tactical officers incorporated scenic detours into battle plans. Several specialized combat units rebranded themselves as cultural exploration teams, complete with stylized logos. The Hegemony Recruitment Ministry reported a surge in applications from young citizens whose stated career goal was becoming Earth famous. Fashionable youth across 18 worlds adopted human slang, clothing styles, and cultural references, rendering traditional military propaganda completely ineffective. As the fleet reached Mars orbit, Galactigram launched a new feature called Invasion Stories, allowing hegemony personnel to document their experiences through ephemeral visual content. Military historians watched in disbelief as hardened warriors competed to create the most engaging narratives about encountering humans, complete with music overlays and augmented reality effects. Earth had effectively transformed an invading armada into the galaxy's largest influencer convention, and the hegemony forces couldn't stop posting about it. Fleet Commander Zexstar stood on the command deck of the hegemony flagship Inevitable Dominion as Earth finally came into visual range. The blue-green planet filled the view screen, surrounded by the scattered remains of what should have been humanity's defensive fleet. Instead, the approach to Earth was lined with what appeared to be enormous floating billboards. "What are those structures?" he demanded. His increasingly distracted sensor officer looked up from her Galactigram feed. "Advertising platforms, Commander. They're broadcasting commercial messages on all frequencies." "Military communications only," Zexstar ordered. "Sir," his communications officer replied apologetically, "the human messages are embedded within our secure channels. They appear to be sponsorship offers." The main screen displayed a formal message bearing the logo of something called Global Refreshments Incorporated. The document detailed an elaborate proposal for naming rights to the hegemony invasion, complete with revenue projections, brand integration opportunities, and promotional calendar. "This is absurd," Zexstar muttered. "Perhaps," his financial officer interjected, "but their projected earnings are substantial. The licensing structure alone would cover our fleet maintenance costs for the next 3 cycles." Similar proposals flooded in from hundreds of human corporations. Entertainment conglomerates offered exclusive documentary rights. Apparel manufacturers proposed branded uniform accessories. Food corporations suggested official invasion refreshment partnerships with sample products helpfully attached. Most disturbing was the behavior of Zexstar's own officers, who had begun evaluating these proposals with disturbing seriousness. Several had already drafted conditional acceptance parameters, citing practical financial considerations. On Earth, the unexpected corporate offensive unfolded under the direction of Sophia Chen, recently appointed Chief Commercial Integration Officer for Planetary Defense. "The hegemony military operates on a fixed budget," Chen explained to the Defense Council. "Their Conquest model assumes resource acquisition follows military expenditure. By introducing immediate revenue opportunities that don't require territorial control, we've created a competing financial model." Admiral Chen nodded thoughtfully. "And these corporations understand the strategic implications." "Completely," Chen confirmed. "They've been developing these contingency partnerships since first contact. The marketing departments at most major corporations have entire xenocultural divisions now." Across the table, Marcus Young, CEO of Global Refreshments, displayed holographic mock-ups of rebranded hegemony vessels. The imposing, inevitable Dominion appeared with its sleek black hull repainted in cheerful red and white, bearing the company's distinctive logo. "We're prepared to offer significant signing bonuses to vessel commanders who accept exclusive branding rights," Young explained. "Our research shows that hegemony military personnel are particularly receptive to our portfolio of caffeinated beverages." Ambassador Rodriguez reviewed the financial projections with barely concealed amusement. "And these terms are genuinely profitable. This isn't just an expensive distraction tactic." "Ambassador," Young replied seriously, "Earth corporations have been preparing for interstellar markets since we confirmed intelligent life existed. The hegemony represents 18 new species with untapped consumer potential. This invasion is the marketing opportunity of the millennium." In orbit, Fleet Commander Zexstar struggled to maintain military focus as his officers presented increasingly enthusiastic partnership evaluations. The weapons officer had somehow acquired samples of human beverage products and was conducting impromptu taste tests on the command deck. His second-in-command had drafted a formal proposal to rename their attack formation the Refreshing Approach. "This is still an invasion," Zexstar insisted, though his voice lacked conviction. "Of course, Commander," his executive officer agreed, "but the projected revenue from merchandise licensing alone would eliminate our need to extract planetary resources. The human entertainment corporations are offering particularly attractive terms for documentary access." The situation deteriorated further when human resources representatives began broadcasting direct recruitment offers to hegemony personnel. The carefully targeted messages highlighted competitive compensation packages, growth opportunities, and comprehensive benefits, concepts largely absent from hegemony military service. "Their healthcare coverage is extraordinary," Zexstar overheard his medical officer commenting. "Fully funded genetic maintenance and optional recreational enhancements. Their retirement packages include interstellar travel allowances," added his operations chief, "and something called stock options that allow ownership shares in growing enterprises." Most alarming was the message from Emperor Zalvex himself, who had apparently entered preliminary discussions with a human entertainment conglomerate regarding exclusive rights to his life story. The Imperial communique included disturbing phrases like cross-platform development opportunity and merchandising considerations. By the time Earth's formal corporate delegation arrived for negotiations, the hegemony fleet had fractured into competing commercial interests. Vessel commanders fielded sponsorship offers while negotiating internal revenue-sharing agreements. Specialized combat units developed distinctive branding identities with marketable logos. The Quartermaster Corps had somehow established an import/export division specializing in human luxury goods. Zextar watched in resignation as his flagship, once the pride of the hegemony fleet, was systematically rebranded. Maintenance crews applied the distinctive red and white color scheme, while marketing specialists advised on optimal logo placement for camera visibility. The signing ceremony begins in 1 hour. Commander, his newly designated public relations officer, informed him. The human delegation has requested you wear their branded ceremonial attire for the occasion. As Zextar reluctantly examined the red and white uniform bearing multiple corporate logos, he realized that humanity had achieved the impossible. They had transformed military conquest into a business transaction, with themselves as the controlling interest. The corporate entanglement had accomplished what no defensive system could have. It had made invasion economically impractical compared to partnership. Emperor Zolvek's personal shuttle approached Earth's diplomatic complex with an escort that would have been inconceivable 3 months earlier. Half hegemony, ceremonial guard, half human entertainment production team. The Emperor had reluctantly agreed to peace negotiations after military operations thoroughly derailed into commercial ventures, social media campaigns, and culinary tourism. What he hadn't expected was for the peace talks themselves to become the highest-rated entertainment event in galactic history. Your Eminence, his cultural advisor explained nervously, the humans have organized what they call a televised summit special. The negotiations will take place before a live audience, with, he hesitated, certain theatrical elements. Define theatrical elements, the Emperor demanded. Each delegation will have a choreographed entrance with music and lighting effects. Negotiation points will receive audience feedback. There will be, commercial breaks. As the shuttle docked, the Emperor heard something no hegemony leader had experienced in 10,000 years of conquest. Applause. Thousands of beings, human and hegemony alike, filled a massive amphitheater surrounding the central negotiation platform. Dramatic music swelled as announcers introduced the diplomatic teams in multiple languages. Representing the galactic hegemony, a charismatic human announcer proclaimed, the sovereign ruler of 18 species, master of 5,000 worlds, making his first Earth appearance. Please welcome Emperor Zolvex. Spotlights converged on the entrance as the Emperor emerged, momentarily blinding him. The audience erupted in enthusiastic applause, while screens displayed his name in glowing letters, accompanied by animated graphics showing his imperial achievements. Before he could process this undignified spectacle, he found himself walking a red carpet toward the central platform. Ambassador Rodriguez greeted him with a respectful but media-friendly handshake. Welcome to Earth, Your Eminence. We're honored to have you join our summit special. This is not how diplomatic negotiations are conducted, the Emperor protested quietly. Perhaps not traditionally, Rodriguez acknowledged, but we're making history together. Over 70 billion beings are watching across both our civilizations. On the negotiation platform, the Emperor discovered comfortable seating arranged for optimal camera angles. Each delegate had personalized refreshments, branded merchandise gifts, and a small screen showing real-time audience metrics. Most disturbing was the reaction panel, a row of buttons that triggered various sound effects when negotiation points were presented. Our first agenda item, Rodriguez announced to camera, planetary sovereignty and territorial recognition. The Emperor presented the hegemony's traditional demands for Earth's submission. Immediately, a comical trombone sound effect played, causing audience laughter. When he attempted to appear stern, an audience meter showed declining approval ratings. Adapting quickly, the Emperor improvised. However, we recognize Earth's unique cultural contributions and propose a modified protectorate status with significant autonomy." Cheerful chimes sounded as his approval rating surged. The audience applauded appreciatively. Throughout Earth, billions watched the proceedings with unprecedented engagement. Social media platforms crashed repeatedly under the traffic volume. Viewing parties filled public spaces across all continents. Commercial breaks featuring new cross-species product lines became instant cultural phenomena. At Unified Defense Headquarters, Admiral Chen and General Okonkwo monitored the broadcast with satisfaction. "The Emperor's adapting to the format remarkably well," Chen observed. "Indeed?" Okonkwo agreed. "His delivery has improved significantly since the opening segment. The comedy bits with Ambassador Rodriguez are surprisingly effective." "Most importantly," added Dr. Sophia Patel, "monitoring neural response data, the shared viewing experience is creating unprecedented empathy connections across species. Both human and hegemony audiences are developing parasocial relationships with opposing diplomats." Back at the summit, negotiations continue with increasingly theatrical elements. Professional moderators introduced complex territorial disputes as though announcing sporting matchups. Historical grievances received dramatic reenactments. Technical discussions about resource sharing included helpful animated graphics with adorable mascot characters. Most surprising was the Emperor's unexpected talent as an entertainer. His initial outrage gave way to strategic adaptation as he recognized the diplomatic advantages of audience support. His wry observations about human customs earned appreciative laughter. His thoughtful questions demonstrated genuine curiosity rather than imperial condescension. By the second broadcast hour, his approval rating had climbed to 73%. During a commercial break, the Emperor found himself conversing casually with Rodriguez. "Your species has transformed interstellar diplomacy into entertainment," he observed, not entirely disapprovingly. "We found that transparency builds trust," Rodriguez replied. "When billions witness negotiations directly, both sides must be reasonable or lose public support." "Clever," the Emperor acknowledged, "though I suspect it's also profitable." "Extraordinarily," Rodriguez confirmed with a smile. "The licensing revenue alone will fund Earth's educational system for the next decade." As negotiations resumed, the Emperor found himself proposing increasingly moderate terms, partly from diplomatic strategy, partly from genuine recognition that traditional conquest had become obsolete before humanity's absurd yet effective approach. The summit reached its culmination with a carefully orchestrated ceremonial segment. The Emperor and Earth's representatives signed preliminary framework agreements on a stage featuring elaborate lighting, musical performances, and holographic displays visible to the live audience of 50,000. "Today marks a new beginning between our civilizations," the Emperor declared, reading from the helpfully provided script with surprising sincerity. "Not as conqueror and conquered, but as partners in galactic development." The audience erupted in thunderous applause as commemorative merchandise dispensers activated throughout the venue. Celebration drones released biodegradable confetti, while camera operators captured reaction shots from hegemony and human delegation members alike. What had begun as war had transformed, through humanity's relentless absurdity, into the greatest diplomatic entertainment spectacle in galactic history, with unprecedented ratings and merchandising potential. 6 months after the hegemony's declaration of war, Emperor Zolvek stood before an unprecedented gathering at Earth's newly constructed Interstellar Cooperation Center. The massive complex, part diplomatic headquarters, part entertainment venue, part shopping destination, represented everything about humanity's absurd yet effective approach to interstellar relations. Citizens of Earth and the galactic hegemony, the Emperor began, his voice carrying to the assembled crowd of 50,000 and broadcasting to trillions across 2 civilizations. "Today, we formalize what historians will recognize as the most unusual conflict resolution in galactic history." Behind him, Massive screens display the journey from war declaration to partnership, stylized as an epic narrative with dramatic music and celebrity narration. The audience, an equal mixture of humans and hegemony citizens, responded with enthusiastic applause. When we announced our intention to conquer Earth, the Emperor continued with remarkable self-awareness. We expected traditional military resistance. Instead, we received cooking shows, social media campaigns, and corporate sponsorship offers. He paused as appreciative laughter rippled through the crowd. Today, I can officially confirm what many have suspected. This approach was far more effective than plasma cannons would have been. Ambassador Rodriguez joined in at the central podium, wearing a formal diplomatic uniform that somehow incorporated elements of fashionable entertainment attire. What began as conflict has evolved into the Galactic Cultural Exchange Initiative, the most comprehensive partnership between civilizations in known space. On cue, holographic displays throughout the venue activated, showcasing the initiative's key programs: tourism exchanges, educational opportunities, collaborative entertainment ventures, and commercial partnerships. Most striking were the economic projections, growth figures that made traditional resource conquest seem primitively inefficient by comparison. In the audience, Admiral Chen and General Okonkwo watched with satisfaction. The projected revenue from hegemony tourism alone exceeds what we would have spent on fleet reconstruction, Chen noted, and without the unfortunate side effect of planetary bombardment. Most remarkably, Okonkwo added, their military academies are implementing human cultural studies as mandatory curriculum. Apparently, they've recognized our absurdity approach as superior strategic thinking. On stage, the formal ratification ceremony continued with carefully orchestrated entertainment segments between diplomatic formalities. The hegemony's fearsome elite warriors performed alongside human dance troupes. Celebrity chefs from 18 species presented fusion cuisine, demonstrating cultural integration. Corporate leaders unveiled cross-species product lines developed through collaborative research. Emperor Zolvex, now sporting human-influenced fashion and occasionally using Earth idioms, had embraced his unexpected role as cross-cultural ambassador. His weekly talk show, Imperial Perspectives with Zolvex, had become the highest-rated program across both civilizations. The merchandise line featuring his stylized image generated revenue that funded educational exchanges between human and hegemony academic institutions. The absurdity doctrine, as Earth's approach had been formally designated in diplomatic archives, received particular attention during the ceremony. A distinguished panel of military historians presented their analysis of humanity's unconventional defense strategy. Traditional conquest models rely on resource extraction exceeding military expenditure, explained Dr. Karina Patel, Earth's leading xenosociologist. Humanity recognized that by offering more profitable alternatives to conquest, entertainment, tourism, cultural exchange, we created a superior economic model that made warfare obsolete. A hegemony high scholar nodded in agreement. For 10,000 years, we approached expansion through military dominance. Humanity demonstrated that cultural integration generates 17 times the economic benefit with zero reconstruction costs. Throughout Earth and across hegemony space, the partnership manifested in increasingly integrated societies. Human entertainment franchises opened on distant worlds. Hegemony architectural influences appeared in Earth's newest structures. Universities developed exchange programs. Culinary traditions merged into exciting new forms. Fashion, music, and art flowed freely between formerly separate civilizations. Most significant was the transformation of military infrastructure. The fearsome hegemony battle fleet, once positioned to subjugate Earth, had been largely repurposed for exploration, scientific research, and luxury tourism. Former warships, their weapons systems replaced with observation lounges and recreational facilities, now conducted heritage tours between civilizations. As the ceremony concluded, Emperor Zalvex and Ambassador Rodriguez activated a symbolic installation, a massive interactive sculpture representing the partnership. As they placed their hands on the designated sensors, the structure illuminated with spectacular light patterns visible from orbit, triggering synchronized celebrations across Earth and hegemony worlds. The universe expected us to become enemies, Rodriguez declared to the assembled crowd. Instead, we've become something far more powerful, profitable partners with shared cultural interests. And significantly better cuisine, the Emperor added with well-practiced comic timing, earning appreciative laughter. The ceremony transitioned seamlessly into what was billed as the Interstellar Gala, simultaneously a diplomatic reception, entertainment spectacle, and commercial showcase. Celebrities mingled with diplomats, corporate leaders networked with military strategists turned cultural attachés, and ordinary citizens from multiple species shared experiences that would have been unimaginable 6 months earlier. In a quiet moment during the celebrations, Admiral Chen found himself conversing with the hegemony's former supreme military commander, now designated Chief Cultural Integration Officer. "Your species accomplished something remarkable," the hegemony officer acknowledged. "You conquered without weapons, won without fighting, and profited without exploitation. We simply recognize that relationships are more valuable than resources," Chen replied, though the merchandise licensing didn't hurt. As fireworks illuminated Earth's night sky, simultaneously celebrating peace, partnership, and the launch of 17 new collaborative entertainment platforms, humanity's absurd response to interstellar war had created something unprecedented. A galactic community united by shared experiences, mutual economic interests, and the universal appeal of a good story well told. The Empire had declared war on humanity, and in return, received the most profitable partnership in galactic history.